Right now, you're probably a little bored. Maybe you're avoiding something. Maybe you just finished something and your brain needs somewhere to go. So you open YouTube, click the video, and here you are. What you just did, the thing you did without thinking, is one of the most human things that exist. That impulse is so old, it predates writing, predates farming, predates civilization as a concept. The question nobody really asks is, when ancient humans got bored, what did they actually do? Because they did get bored, and the answer changes something about how you see yourself. The image most of us carry around is some version of this: a dirty, exhausted human being who woke up every morning in survival mode, spent every hour of daylight hunting or running or not dying, collapsed at night, and repeated that until they didn't. That image is almost entirely false. Anthropologists who have studied modern hunter-gatherer communities whose lifestyle closely mirrors that of our Stone Age ancestors have consistently found that meeting basic needs, food, shelter, water, typically took somewhere between 3 and 5 hours a day. 3 to 5 hours, which means ancient humans had enormous amounts of unstructured times on their hands, not occasionally, every single day. The question was never whether they got bored. The question is what they did with it. The first answer the archaeological record gives us is music. In 1995, in a cave in Slovenia called Žive Babe, archaeologists discovered a fragment of bone, specifically the femur of a cave bear, with 4 precisely spaced holes drilled into it. When scientists examined it, they found that the holes matched 4 notes of the diatonic scale, the same scale we use in Western music today. This bone is estimated to be around 50,000 and 60,000 years old. That means it may have been made by Neanderthals, our extinct cousins. The ones we always pictured as brutish and barely conscious were potentially sitting in a cave playing a flute. Then, in 2008, in Germany's Hohlefels cave, archaeologists discovered flutes carved from vulture bone and mammoth ivory dating to at least 40,000 years ago. One of them was constructed from 2 separate pieces of mammoth ivory, carved and hollowed out and then sealed together. An instrument built with patience, precision, and intention. These weren't accidents. These were people who, when the day's work was done, sat down and made music, not because they had to, but because they simply wanted to. The second answer is actually art. In 1994, 3 explorers crawling through a narrow crack in a cliff face in southern France stumbled into a cave that had been sealed for over 36,000 years. What they found inside Shelvet Cave would force archaeologists to completely rewrite the timeline of human creativity. The walls were covered in over 1,000 drawings. Horses, lions, woolly rhinoceroses, bears, rendered with such anatomical accuracy, such sophisticated understanding of perspective and movement, that when Werner Herzog made a documentary about them, he described seeing them as seeing the birth of a human soul. Getting deep enough into the cave required torches, planning, hours of travel through darkness. These weren't casual doodles near the entrance. No. Someone went far into the earth in the dark to create something that no one else might ever see. And a recent Israeli study added one more layer to this. Researchers found evidence suggesting that some prehistoric artists may have deliberately restricted their oxygen intake deep inside cave systems to induce altered states before painting. They were not just making art, they were engineering the experience of making it. The third answer arrived just this year. In April 2006, a study published in the journal American Antiquity revealed that Native American hunter-gatherers were using dice approximately 12,800 years ago. During the last Ice Age, the dice were flat, 2-sided pieces of bone or wood designed to be tossed like a coin. Simple by modern standards, they were unmistakably gaming pieces, objects made with the specific purpose of inducing randomness into a competitive game. For context, the 6-sided dice we're all familiar with date back to around 3000 BC. These are more than just 6,000 years older. One of the researchers put it perfectly: the archaeological evidence of games shows us quite a bit about how we are still the same humans we were back then. We crave human interaction and find creative ways to use the objects around us to create interesting ways to interact with each other. They weren't playing games to survive. They were playing games because games is something humans simply do. And then there was storytelling. This one's harder to find in the archaeological record because stories don't leave physical artifacts, but the evidence for it is everywhere. The cave paintings themselves are likely one piece of it. Visual narratives of hunts, migrations, and encounters with animals that were almost certainly accompanied by spoken stories around a fire. The oral tradition, the act of sitting together and telling each other things, adding drama, embellishing, performing, is something anthropologists believe goes back as far as language itself, maybe even 100,000 years. Every culture that has ever existed on Earth, without a single exception, has storytelling. That kind of universality doesn't happen by accident. It happens because something in our brain requires it. So here's what the full picture actually looks like. Tens of thousands of years before anyone invented writing or agriculture or the concept of a city, humans were making music sophisticated enough to play in 4-note scales. They were crawling deep into the earth by torchlight to paint animals on cave walls with the kind of skill that still impresses art historians today. They were rolling dice, They were playing games. They were sitting around fires and telling each other stories. They were bored regularly, and they filled that boredom in the exact same ways we do today. They created things. They competed with each other. They made sounds that felt good, and they gathered in groups to share experiences. The impulse you felt when you opened this video is the same one that made someone pick up a vulture bone 40,000 years ago and decide to see what happened if you blew air through the hole in it. The tools changed, the screens got brighter, but the thing driving all of it, the restless, searching, creative discomfort of an idle human mind, that hasn't moved an inch.